Welcome to the weekly current affairs class. Today we will be dealing with topics from society, security as well as ethics. The first topic that we will be dealing is the issue of forced convergence. Supreme Court of India gave some very harsh words on this particular issue, highlighting the context of basically unity as well as the security of the nation. You must know that Constitution of India already gives the right to practice, propagate any religious, okay, but the problem at hand is while propagation, okay, is a legitimate basically demand of any religious organization, but the issue here is of forced convergence that have been happening basically out of allurement, some monetary benefits, targeting of the socio-economic backward communities, okay, some threats that are made by the religious organizations to the weak communities, socio-economic weak communities, to convert to another religion. So in that context, basically Supreme Court stated that it is a threat to individual autonomy, the social fabric of the country, the bond that the particular 2 or 3 or many diverse communities that are enjoying between themselves, okay, that can be hampered. Then as well as the secular aspects of society. You must know that secularism is a basic feature of our society, and the issue of forced religious convergence basically go against the secular features, okay, whereas our constitution gives the permission for to individual to choose any religion or to according to his or her faith or any or their particular likings, okay, or even if they don't want to believe it, it is as per the individual wishes. So the secular aspects of the society, in this context Supreme Court has taken some very stern view of the issue, right? In the case of Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay versus the Union of India, Supreme Court took a note of these issues, that basically the religious convergence, while we are not denying that legitimate convergence, basically the individuals who choose any other religions out of their choice, that is not an issue at hand. But when some religious organizations through deception, through allurement or force, okay, very strong words, deception, allurement or force, basically they are forcing some basically individuals or the groups to convert to some another religion, that is basically not in context of or not in sync with the views of constitution. And see, they have particularly stated that forced religious conversions are very dangerous for the country and may even affect the security of the nation and the freedom of religion and conscience of the citizens. You must know that basically, see, article 25 to 28, they are very important in this context when the Supreme Court states that the freedom of religion and conscience of the citizen, it is basically fundamental right of every individual to choose or to practice the religion as per as their wishes. Basically nobody can force another individual to go for basically or choosing the another religion. It is the individual's choice, okay, that matters what religion he or she wants to practice. So that is the issue at hand basically. But out of deception, allurement or force, some religious organizations are forcing another individuals to convert to some another religions, and it is very dangerous to our society. Why? Because it hampers the individual autonomy, it is a threat to the social fabric which can create the situation of communal riots, okay, then as well as to the secular aspects of society. So moving forward, see, we must see what are the factors in this context that are promoting the religious convergence that are at hand. See, first of all, you must know that it is a issue that is situated with the poor economic situation of some communities, particularly with respect to, if we see that socio-economic hours, we have already in many of our current affair classes we have discussed that ours is a diverse country where many identities are present, and some identities specifically prominent, they are caste and class, okay. The low caste, or you can basically to some extent we can say that low caste is also low class, as well as the another identity of scheduled tribes, So these communities such as scheduled caste, scheduled tribes or any another tribal communities, they fare very poorly on socio indicators such as health, education, okay, standard of living, and similarly with respect to economic indicators, poor monetary income, basically poor employment levels, poor literacy levels. So in this context, basically these communities are targeted by religious organizations to go for religious convergence. Okay, they are given some certain incentives such as of health, such as of basically education or employment, or basically some another ABC incentive, so that basically some allurement is given to them, so that we will deal with your this particular issue. For example, somebody may not have a house, okay, that we will build you a house, we will provide all the basic amenities, and basically but there is a condition that you convert to some our religion. So out of some incentive, these communities who are having so poor socio-economic situations, they are targeted by religious organizations. Next is basically forced conversions are also done by intimidating, threatening or deceiving. You can further basically elaborate this point that when these communities are low on socio-economic indicators, so they are having less power within the society, they are having poor awareness of their political rights, civil and political rights, okay, because of being a powerless group, because of being having a poor social status in society, the very powerful religious organizations or the very powerful religious groups, basically they force these communities through threat, through intimidation, that you will have to convert to our particular religion. Then basically these communities have no choice because they want to survive in the society. So that is another issue at hand. Then basically the issue also comes from the socially and economically marginalized communities, and the practice, basically this violates not only the fundamental rights of the country but also the constitutional principles such as secularism. See, when we talk of constitutional morality, the basic values which are enshrined in the constitution, okay, the values which guides the individual in the society to how to live, how to basically interact in society, and secularism is one of that basic values, on the basis of which we state that basically religion is a private affair, public sphere will be guided by the civil law. So the secularism is threatened. We already know that all over the world secularism is already facing the resistance, okay, from the traditional groups or from the conservative groups, and the act like these basically that are done by the religious organization hampers the secular aspects or the secular credentials of the society, and basically it is in the violation of the constitution itself, because the constitution itself pronounces that India is a secular society, and on the basis of that we have enshrined the article that is 25 to 28 that everybody has a right there is an individual autonomy, there is a freedom to choose or practice any religion basically the individual he or she wants to practice or wants to choose. So these are the some of the factors basically that are hampering what we say the social fabric of our society. So in nutshell you can state that basically first of one is a poor socio-economic situation, and second one is a intimidation and threat basically which violates the fundamental features of our constitution. See, to deal with these situations, some of the states you must have seen in the newspapers, they have also come up with the anti-conversion laws, okay, that any religious groups who is going for the forced religious convergence, basically they will have to face the wrath of the law, okay. Some severe punishments have been noted down in that context, so we will be discussing that also. Some civil society activist groups have basically highlighted that, see, this is the bills that have been or the acts that have been promulgated by various states, okay, they have raised their concerns basically as they also violate the fundamental rights of the citizens. We will see that is how that is basically anti-conversion laws, such as I am giving you the example here, the Uttar Pradesh prohibition of unlawful conversion of religious act 2021, which basically bans the forced religious conversions by groups. But what are the issues that have come up basically with these kind of laws that are prevalent, okay, or that have been promulgated? First of all, we need to see that it is violative of right to privacy judgment, okay, which made right to privacy an integral part, or basically part of article 21 of the constitution, right to life with dignity. Okay, we in our earlier class also basically we stated that there are some intimate things, okay, that are very private to the individual and they should basically be not be interfered with by the state. Okay, that was highlighted in the KS, you already know, Puttaswamy judgment, right? Some intimate decisions like sexual orientation, religious orientation, what religion you want to practice, how you want to practice it, okay, that is some very private things or the intimate things of the individual, so that should be left to individual, okay, how he or she wants to practice that thing. Next issue basically is it reverses the idea of burden of proof. What is the idea of burden of proof? That anybody, individual who is booked under law, he or she is innocent until proven guilty. Okay, he or she cannot be considered basically that you are booked, you are guilty, okay, unless and until court pronounces the punishment, the individual is innocent. But the idea has been reversed here, how that if you are booked under the law, basically you are already considered guilty and it is the prerogative of the individual who has been booked under that law to prove his innocence. So basically the whole idea of the burden of proof has been reversed. To simplify again, I will tell you that the normal process is that you are innocent until you are proven guilty, but under this law what is happening is that individual, the who is booked under this particular law, what is happening is that he or she is considered guilty, okay, unless basically even the court has not pronounced its judgment. And moreover, the prerogative of basically proving that I am innocent is upon the individual who has been booked under the law. In normal circumstances, when the state books you under the law, okay, or when the government basically arrests you, the particular individual under any ABC law, it is the government who states that basically that individual has stated this particular crime, okay, that he or she is guilty. But here the the process has been reversed, the burden has been placed upon the individual who has been booked under the law. So every religious conversion basically is presumed illegal, very important, is illegal unless proven guilty, okay. Thus the burden is on the person carrying out the conversion to prove that it is by their will and not illegal, okay. The burden has been placed on the individual who is booked under the law, okay. Next basically issue is basically that state can interfere in the personal lives of the citizen, okay. That is basically again a very dangerous thing. We have already fundamental rights which talks about individual autonomy, okay, that individual has a right to make their choices, to the right to life with dignity. And basically it is the under this law, or under this the laws that have been promulgated by many states, it basically creates a condition where the state can interfere in the lives of citizens, basically stating that yes, if you are going for religious conversion, this religious conversion is illegal, it is forced. Even it may be legal, it may be out of individual choice, it may be out of individual preference, but the state can state that basically, see, we do not consider this to be a legal conversion, it is illegal and you are booked under the law for promoting that conversion. So that kind of thing is also dangerous in a democratic society like India. So these are the issues that are basically at hand with the anti-conversion laws that have been promulgated by various states. So this was our first issue. So what we had dealt with is basically what is the Supreme Court's view on the anti-conversion, basically the forced conversions that are happening in society, okay, how they are dangerous to society, that we have seen, okay, what are the factors that are promoting the religious conversions, that can be asked in mains, and at last basically the anti-conversion laws that have been promulgated by many states, okay, what are the issues basically that are concerning these laws. So this is our first topic. The next topic that we will be dealing with is violence against women. Okay, in the recent times basically you have seen even the NCRB data, if you have studied in your newspapers, it states that basically the rise, there is increase in the number of crimes that are happening against women. And to highlight in our recent context or the few days, the basically cruel news that basically came across, that was the murder of a young woman by her live-in partner, or you basically in our last to last class we also discussed the issue of gang rape. Okay, there was issue of acid attack in Jharkhand. Okay, then there in the context of COVID there was rising basically instances of domestic violence that were happening. Okay, so this highlights the need to study the ethical issues that arise out of such a situation. We will be dealing with it comprehensively, that what are the ethical issues that arise out of basically the social evil that is violence against women. So whenever the UPSC basically ask you this type of question, or even it may ask you basically specifically in the ethics part, it may give you some case study that, see, this is a situation, this is some attack has happened, or this is some crime has happened against women, and you are a head of that particular district, how you will deal with it, what are the issues that are prevalent, what are the stakeholders that are prevalent, some sort of that thing, or it may even ask you in the theoretical part. So in brief, we will be dealing with the ethical issues that are present in this context. So first issue, that is basically ethical issues that arise out of this situation, is ethical issues that arise out of such a situation. First of all is violation of right to life with dignity. Whenever an attack or crime happens against the women section of society, basically it violates their right to life, it violates their right to life. Then it creates, how it happens, it creates a sense of insecurity, fear basically in the minds of an individual. It restricts, further you can say that it restricts the freedom of movement. Basically it creates fear that basically that we cannot freely roam around in our neighborhood, in the public places, because some individual might carry a crime against us. Okay, when you feel that insecurity, basically that is a right to violation of right to life with dignity. That is first issue. Then many a times we have also discussed, that is right to bodily autonomy and integrity. Whenever an issue of domestic violence, whenever an issue of basically rape or sexual harassment that happens in our society, it violates the right to bodily autonomy and integrity. Basically it violates the choice, okay, as well as individual autonomy, the right to make basically free and fair decisions by individuals themselves. That violates basically the right to bodily autonomy and integrity. Next one is encroachment on enjoyment of freedom and autonomy. I have already linked with it with this part, that whenever basically a sense of insecurity or fear takes place in the mind, it basically restricts the freedom of movement, okay, of the individual. It restricts the basically choice of the individuals, the choice to make the decisions particularly. Further, it restricts your freedom to enjoy or to live your life, if you take a broader context. Okay, whenever an individual carries out attack against another individual, the, for example, the issue of domestic violence that we see, the issue of rape that we see, or the basically recent murder by the live-in partner, we see that more or less it is done to make the other individual surrender to their wishes. Okay, that the acts, the daily lifestyle should be according to someone else's wishes. So in that context, it restricts the freedom to live your life freely. Okay, you are always in fear of somebody, someone else basically, or some other individual, that yes, I have to take my decisions, I have to make my decisions in the context of that individuals, that what that particular individual will say. For example, if I want to work outside the home, I want to take a job, but you are always in a constant fear of the other individual, that may be husband, father, any ABC individual may be there, that what he or she will think, whether he or she will approve of my decision or not. So that restricts your freedom. Okay, what type of clothes I should wear, whether basically I will be accepted for that or I will have to face the consequences for that. So that restricts your choice to make your decisions, as well as it restricts your individual autonomy. And next one is effective application of rule of law, soft state. What is soft state? Where the state where there is no proper application of what we say laws and policies. Rule of law is not present. Basically the situation is that show me the individual and I will show you the rule. In many instances we have seen that sometimes the crimes that are happening against women, they are performed by the very powerful individuals of the society, and they escape the wrath of the law. Basically they escape punishment, and the victim is unable to achieve justice. Why? Basically because of the concept of soft state. Basically the police or our judicial system or our criminal system basically fails to act against those individuals. That is soft state. There is no rule of law, right to equality. Basically what we can effectively say, that if crime happen against even a basically the individual from a poor socio-economic background, they should be able to get justice, even that is propounded by most powerful individual of the society. So that is the issue. That is why there is a sense of insecurity among the women section of society, that if crime is committed against us, we may not be able to get justice effect. Okay, next is basically showcases declining morals of the society. In our last class, we basically discussed about this issue also, that basically when an issue of gang rape happened, instead of helping the young girl, individuals, what happened was that individuals started making videos, or basically individuals just look at basically what is happening in the society, and nobody wants to intervene to basically save the victim. So that is what that tells us. Basically that tells us the declining morals of our society. As stated by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that I measure the progress of the society by the degree of progress, or basically the situation of the woman that is there in the society. So that can be a particular quote also, that may be after your, even it might be helpful in your essays also, that I measure the progress of the country by the degree of progress which women have achieved. Okay, so if our society is not intervening to save the women from these horrific situations, okay, they are not raising their voice against it, but they are just standing nearby, or instead of helping or making videos, it shows that the morality of the society at large is decreasing, and we need to do something about it. Last issue that we generate is that is patriarchy, tradition versus equality and modernity. See, the tradition talks about the collectivism. Tradition talks about collectivism. Modernity talks about individual autonomy. Patriarchy talks about unequal relations between men and women, where men is superior and woman is inferior. Equality talks about that both are equal. So there is a dichotomy between the two. Ours is a transition society where modernity and tradition coexist together. Okay, there are individuals who follow that society should be patriarchal, it should be guided by the traditional values, and the individuals, there are some basically section of society who, what we say, is in sync with the modernization process. They talk about basically even our constitution is based on this process. It talks about fundamental rights, talks about the individual autonomy. Okay, it talks about right to equality is protected within the constitution. So there is a dichotomy, basically the individuals basically, or the value system, where one side our constitution is talking about equality, individual autonomy, and our tradition is talking about collectivism, okay, or the hold of the group on the individual decisions. That is why, for example, you will see a situation where there are some conservative individuals who always talks about basically that what type of clothes women should wear, okay, at what time that they should come back to home. highlighting the traditional aspect, highlighting collectivism, that see society controls the individual decisions. And the other hand, those who are critics of this approach, they state that basically that tradition does not matter. Our constitution talks about individual autonomy. It gives us freedom to wear whatever we want to wear, to roam around in the public spaces. Nobody can restrict that. So there is a dichotomy, and sometimes this dichotomy results in crime against the women section of society. So in nutshell, what are the issues that we have discussed here is violation of the right to life with dignity, Article 21. Then its linkage with how it restricts freedom and autonomy of the individual. Then basically a violation of right to bodily autonomy, and then basically issue of effective implementation of rule of law, soft state concept that I have discussed you there, where there is no equal application of law. Then there is a stance of declining morality of the society, and at last is patriarchy and tradition versus equality and modernity. Next, basically we also need to discuss, just give me a second, the measures that can be taken to improve the position of women in society. What are the things that can be done to improve the position? First of all, we need to ensure the civil society participation. We just discussed the point of declining morality standards of the society. We need society to basically act against such individuals who basically perpetuate crimes against women. So for that instance, civil society participation, their active participation against crimes and helping police nab the criminals will be of very much help, where they basically not just stand by, okay, or make videos, but act against the individuals who perpetuate such crimes against women. Then we need to talk about the police reforms. Sometimes in many of our earlier classes also we have discussed that many a times crimes happen against women. So what happens is basically because of poor sensitization of police, they are not able to empathize with the victim, they are not able to understand basically what a woman is actually going through, okay, or there is a basically lack of strength of women officials in the police stations, because of which the individual is not able to basically effectively tell their situations, okay, or because of police criminal nexus there is no effective FIR basically filing is there, or basically their voice is not heard. So what we need to do is we need to sensitize the police officials to empathize with victims, and we need more recruitment of women officials so that basically they can effectively tell their situation, okay, what they are going through. Then we need to go for judicial reforms, the most important aspect, okay, you already know that right to speedy trial is a fundamental right, first of all, okay. Then we also know that basically if there is justice delayed is justice denied, justice delayed is justice denied. So in this context basically we need to ensure that that individuals who are the victims of such violence basically attacks, they are ensured that basically they will be getting the justice, even that is basically penetrated or that is against the most powerful individual of the country, okay. They should have their faith basically in the judicial process, in the constitutional values. How that will happen? If we will go for the more recruitment of women as judges, we ensure the time frame resolve of the cases, okay. Then we are establishing fast track courts basically against against the crimes that are happening against the women. Next basically is effective role of media. We already know that it is a fourth pillar of our democracy, so it must be sensitive, again it must be sensitive to the victims and empathize with them, okay, empathize with their situation. It should not in any case reveal the identity. In many instances we have seen that even in some of the cases Supreme Court has given the very strict or harsh words against some media channels who had revealed the identity of the rape victims, so they must not reveal the identity of the victims, and instead they should put pressure on the government to provide justice to the victim, okay, so that basically process can be what we say speed tracked. So that is essential. Then is the role of legislations. Effective law making covering wide range of crimes against women with effective detailing of what type of punishment will be given against such crimes, okay. Then basically more effective than policy making is the effective implementation of the law to create a basically sense of security among women, so that they are ensured that if we are basically victims of some crime, we will be getting the justice, police will act basically, okay. There is effective implementation of law. Again we can say that there is rule of law in the society. So again in basically brief, what are the measures we need? Civil society participation, we need police reforms, we need judicial reforms, we need the basically effective role of media, then we need basically effective legislation making as well as the effective legislation implementation. Then this was the issue that was there with respect to security, oh sorry, ethics. Now the topics that we will be dealing is with respect to security. Two agencies that came basically in news were ED and NIA. Again they were in news, it was in context of money laundering, NIA in context of some basically crimes that are basically happening in some states. We will be dealing with what are in your prelims exams, okay. Many a times now UPSC is asking basically what is the mandate of some various regulatory bodies, is it a statutory body, is it a constitutional body, that type of questions. So what is ED is the Directorate of Enforcement, is a basically law enforcement agencies. It basically deals with the economic issues, okay. The for example the issue of money laundering, okay, deals with such type of issues, and it enforces the economic laws and fight economic crimes in India, okay. To deal with the basically issues of economic crime, we have a particular agency established in our country that is called as Enforcement Directorate. The primary objective is the enforcement of two key acts. This may be asked in your prelims exams, that basically what type of acts basically are dealt by the ED. That is, first of all is the FEMA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, and then there is a Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Two key acts that are basically dealt with by, that is FEMA Act 1999 and Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. And what does it do? What is its objective? It deals with the economic issues or economic crimes that are happening in the country. Next body that we have at hand is NIA. What is NIA? It is a basically primary, first of all primary, you must be clear with it. Then it is a counter terrorist task force of India. What it is a counter terrorist task force of India, okay. It was established, okay, under the act, that is National Investigation Agency Act 2008. It means it is a again statutory body. It is a statutory body, okay, by the parliament. When it was established, it was passed after the deadly 26/11 terror attacks that happened in Mumbai. After that, the need was felt of establishing an agency, okay, that can deal with the counter terror attacks. And the most important part for your prelims exams, it is empowered to deal with investigation of terror related crimes across states. Most important thing, without special permission from states. It does not need permission from states to investigate the terror attacks that may have happened in some state. It just need is it a written proclamation from the Ministry of Home Affairs. So this statement can be asked to you in your prelims exams. Two very primary statements that can be asked. See that, is it a regulatory or statutory body? How it was established? Okay, it was established after 26/11 attack or some another attack, okay, that type of statement. And next one, important one, that whether it needs permission from states to investigate a crime or not. It does not need a permission, whereas for your extra knowledge, CBI needs a general consent from states to investigate a crime that has happened in a state. Okay, so there is a difference, you must be knowing about it. Now for your seize the means part, the question is that despite the innumerable efforts by government of civil society, okay, etc., to empower women, the violence against women has not gone down. So what are, according to you, are the reasons for the high number of incidents of violence against women in India? Very easy. Okay, is there a way out where you have to provide a measures and then focus on the directive part? Directive is discussed and you have to answer in 250 words. The video will be uploaded accordingly. So that is it from my side. Thank you.